Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs, the show that's kind of canceled, but kind of not. It's just basically going into a more, do we actually have a moment that fits a Drak Vlogs, as opposed to what I've been doing before, but welcome nonetheless, as we are going to be discussing E3 2018. Now, as of this recording, E3's over, or at least the press conferences are, and the show floor's still open for a couple of days, but that's really what a lot of people are talking about right now, is how did the press conferences fare, and how well did E3 fare in 2018 as opposed to, like, 2017. And that's what I'm going to try and do with these vlogs, is that where a lot of people on YouTube are going on a point after point discussion of everything they talked about, I'm going to kind of condense things a little bit and give you guys my likes, my dislikes, what I think the company or the console maker did right and what they did wrong, and kind of keep it more casual like I do the reviews on my channel. So you guys can look forward to that, and I'm always looking forward to having this discussion with you guys again in the comments section. Just keep it civil, and I would love to be able to see what you guys thought of these various conferences. And so let's go ahead and start with the very beginning, and that is Electronic Arts. So, like I said, we're just going to go into what was good, what was bad, and then kind of a final score. And also, as a bonus, at the end of all of these vlogs, I'm going to do an kind of basically an overall. I'm going to say, is E3 2018 a better year than most, or is it a worse year? And that'll kind of wrap things up. What was good about EA? It might be a better idea to start off with what was bad. Just to kind of give people a viewpoint of me walking into EA's conference, I didn't really have a whole lot of games that I was looking forward to. I knew that games like Battlefront and Battlefield were going to be announced, or not announced, but that they were going to get more information on them. I think the only one that I had any kind of vague interest in was Anthem, just because I wanted to hear more about that. So I didn't walk in with a whole lot of expectations into the Electronic Arts conference, but here's how it fared, and we're just going to start with the negative first because, well, I have a lot more negative than I do positive, and I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way. FIFA 18, FIFA 19, Madden 19, Madden stuff, NBA 19, I don't care, okay? I know that pisses off a few of you guys, and I'm sorry, but the bottom line is that when I game, I like to go into worlds that are fantastical. I don't necessarily want to go into a real-life kind of thing, hence why I don't play games like Grand Theft Auto or the sports games. I like games like NBA Jam because they're at least a little bit fantastical. They're kind of what a kid imagines that Karl Malone or Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James can actually do, but they really can't. So it's a little bit more fantastical, and therefore, the way that I look at games like that is, if I wanted to do that, I'd go outside, kind of thing, because that's where that is. I'd go out and play basketball. So I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on the sports ones, aside from they were a convenient bathroom break. Okay, I wasn't interested in the tournaments that they were holding in coverage of the World Cup, because I know FIFA 18 had World Cup DLC and all that stuff. I wasn't too interested. On to the stuff that actually did matter as far as I'm concerned. Let's just go ahead and start off with their first one, Battlefield 5. I'm not interested in this one. I thought it was funny that they're going back to World War II. It just shows to me that, you know, you've done modern warfare for a while, and even with Activision, we've gone into futuristic warfare, but now we're going back to World War I, World War II, you know, the classics. And I'm not saying it's lazy, because at least they're going into it with a lot of details. They're kind of taking the Assassin's Creed route to covering a lot of this, and so I'll give them that credit. But yeah, not really all that invested, and what they were actually saying about Battlefield 5 wasn't all that interesting to me. To you guys it is, especially when they got to the Royale portion. So they had like a Battle Royale feature that they're going to add in. And I literally even made a note. I'm like, oh, look, Battlefield wants to be PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Yay! So that's Battlefield 5. Unfortunately, it's in the negative column as far as I'm concerned. The next one would probably be the treatment of Star Wars. And here's my problem with it. I'm just going to kind of go point for point. before we had the Battlefront announcements, we had a weird interview that the PR person, the host that they assigned to the EA conference, conducted with the director of Respawn Entertainment. And Respawn, if you guys don't know, is the company that made Titanfall and was recently acquired by EA and is working on a Star Wars game. Now, we know that they've helped with a Star Wars game in the past. I believe they helped out with the X-Wing VR one. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's what they did. And we knew that they were working on a game, but a lot of us have kind of expected that maybe they took the assets of what was the former Visceral Star Wars game, and they got that, and now they have to make a game with it, kind of thing. So we had a weird interview where basically we did get some information about this. It's called Jedi Fallen Order. It takes place during the dark times in between episode 3 and episode 4. Do we know anything else about it? Not really. We know that they're pretty far along, and they actually, the president did, or the director did tell us that it would be at E3 2019, and it does have a release date for holiday 2019, but that's pretty much all we got. And here's what's disappointing about that, and then here's where the knife gets twisted. He made it sound very much like they do actually have some assets to show off. He did actually make it sound like they had concept art, an actual story kind of written down that he could have summarized and shown us the characters, all that stuff. But he didn't. Instead, we just had this interview. We didn't even have concept art up on the screen. We just know he's working on Jedi Fallen Order and that it's coming out holiday 2019, and we'll see more of it next year. Okay. Then right after, they did the Battlefront 2 EA announcements. And one of the things that you also had to get used to in the overall conference was their penitence. They basically went up and said, "I'm sorry, we learned our lesson from the microtransactions debacle of December, and we're really sorry, and we won't do it again." And you had to deal with this constantly. And so much so that it got really annoying, especially during the Battlefront presentation. So we already know that they have solo DLC that's out. There's a new map for Kessel. You can get young Han and young Lando skins for the heroes and all that stuff, okay? You can get those. They wanted to be able to advertise those. But they also wanted to show, again, that they're penitent and that they're listening to you. And they finally announced that they're going to be doing some Clone Wars DLC. Okay, kind of surprising that you haven't done it up until this point. I'll admit, I haven't really followed the Battlefront news because everything that they put out would piss me off. Especially the whole, "we don't think a pink Darth Vader's a good thing." So they announced that they're going to be doing that. The first map and mode that they're going to be putting out is Geonosis, so you guys can look forward to that soon. And they already announced 4 heroes, which are underwhelming at best and horribly predictable at worst. General Grievous, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Count Dooku, and Anakin Skywalker. Not surprising in the slightest, really. We all expected that these heroes would eventually make their way in. It's just surprising that it took them this long to get them in there. So you had that. And then we went into the whole penitent stuff of like, we won't do microtransactions. We've learned our lesson. We've retooled the game. Yeah, sure, whatever. And here's where I'm saying this is twisting the knife. You decided to bring Battlefront, the failing game, as far as I'm concerned. You brought the one that got you into this mess to begin with. Instead of showing off the brand spanking new Star Wars game that people are more interested in. Even Battlefront fans that I've talked to have said they were more interested in hearing about Jedi Fallen Order than Battlefront. And this is just a fail, as far as I'm concerned, on EA's part. Is you had an opportunity to at least show concept art to get people excited, and you blew it. So, unfortunately, Star Wars is a failure as far as I'm concerned from the conference. And then finally, let's see. Well, the final failure that I'm going to bring up is the announcement of Command & Conquer Rivals, which was just basically taking Command & Conquer and making it completely mobile, making it look like you put very little effort in to be able to make it work. And even I could tell you guys, and I've talked to a number of people, this game, even though they said it won't be, it's going to be riddled with microtransactions. Of course it is. It's a mobile game. So that was also a major disappointment because I used to be a Command & Conquer fan back in the day. I have friends that still are. and they've been waiting for new games for quite a while now with hope that would happen. You know, they got to see me have the awesome announcements of Shenmue 3, and our other friends have The Last Guardian, and they still haven't had Command and Conquer, and this was their answer. So just even more bullcrap. That's all the negative stuff, okay? Positive, unfortunately, is a lot shorter because there was really one section that kept me interested during the whole conference. And that was when they decided to highlight their EA originals, aka the indie developers that work with EA. Now, Hazelight was not there. I know a few people expected Hazelight to be there after releasing A Way Out. They actually, because of the success of A Way Out, were moving into a new studio. So congrats to them. That was awesome to be able to hear. We had 2 games, roughly, that were announced for EA Originals, one of which was one of which was rumored, and that was Unravel 2. I even admit, I read the rumors, and I kind of sat there and went, where could Unravel go from there? And no, they found a place for it to go, so basically they make it look like that Yarny has hit his absolute lowest of lows, and in order for him to be able to rekindle the spark of life that he has, he makes a new friend, which is Blue Yarny. And from there on, you are basically, it's going to be a co-op game that you can either do with an AI or you can do it with local multiplayer and go on a journey with Red and Blue Yarny. And that looked really cool and cute and had me engaged. It even had my daughter engaged. My daughter had been yelling at me at this point to stop watching because she just isn't interested, and Unravel got her interested. So I'll give them that credit. And the cool part is that not only did you bring out the original developer who, man, I love you, man. I love you, dude. You were so nervous, and it just makes it so genuine. He released it that day. It was done. So you guys can get your hands on Unravel 2 as of right now. The second shocker was Sea of Solitude, which the studio's name is escaping me, but it's a studio it's a studio in Berlin. And they're working on Sea of Solitude, which is a game that deals heavily in loneliness. So you basically have the concept of like the lonelier you get, the more frustration and other emotions build because of the loneliness. Humans become monsters. And the whole goal of it is you play this girl who is a monster who is trying to regain her humanity. She's actually trying to not be lonely anymore. And the game just gives you such feelings of isolation, of loneliness. I mean, they showed a moment where like it's a high school locker room area and everybody's a monster. So nobody's talking to each other. And then most of the scenes were like out on the ocean, you know, where you're going to be alone. So I liked what they were going to do with it. Unfortunately, it's coming out in 2019, so we'll have to wait to hear more on that. But that actually did have me excited, and the trailer looked really, really good. Really, really creepy in some cases. So major kudos to them. And those are really the only positives. Now, there's one game I haven't talked about, and this might be something that happens in other conferences, is the stuff that was like in the middle for me. Because I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily love it either. And for me, that was Anthem. So I got a little bit more information, which didn't really help. It didn't help curb the concept that Anthem isn't EA's version of Destiny. And it didn't also help me in the regards of, like, I love BioWare games because you can have really great single-player stories. And this one is going to be heavily engaging in multiplayer, but they insist that, yes, you're still going to be able to do stuff solo. And they didn't show that. And that's a big bummer for me because I'm like, they showcased a mission, but they showcased it in multiplayer. It would have been great to be able to have just like a camera cutting and either it gets phased and you have less enemies, you have more enemies, or something to be able to show like what this is going to look like if you're soloing. They didn't do that. They wanted to showcase the multiplayer. So that was disappointing as far as I'm concerned. They also... Another disappointing aspect was they said a lot of the story is going to be based in the hub town areas instead of out in the world. I like one of the things I like about Mass Effect and even Knights of the Old Republic is eventually you will come across stuff while you're on another mission that helps tell the story and is another quest all in and of itself. So what you basically told me in that regard is you're not doing that anymore. To me, that sucks. That's something that shouldn't happen. I hope that that's not the case. But that's what you were basically kind of telling me through your panel that you hosted with it. And again, it like everything that they were saying in the regards to it was pointing that it is, yes, EA's answer to Destiny. Yes, it's almost MMO in length and in size, and that didn't help sway me. That didn't help me actually want to buy Anthem. If anything, when they announced the release date, I actually just kind of sat there at the end going, I'm going to have to think about this one. I'm not even sure if I want to review it, much less play it. So Anthem is up in the air, and I hope that we get a couple of other presentations before then, before its February release date, to help curb that problem. But right now, I'm not necessarily all that interested. And now that we've gone into the goods and the bads, final score. Final score it was a D effort. I mean, it had some things that kind of kept my interest, but it wasn't the best conference out there, and you guys will see in the next little bit. And that was really disappointing as far as I'm concerned, but that's going to go ahead and do it. So it's a D ranking, and hopefully things get better, but I will be honest with you guys. I'm actually, after this conference, strongly considering whether or not to continue watching the EA conference next year. I'll keep you guys in the loop, but I was very disappointed. I've been disappointed the last couple of years, and I just don't see any reason to go and watch next year, even with Jedi Fallen Order there. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. So thank you guys so much for all of the love and support that you guys have given, and I will be back next time to discuss the next conference, which started up Sunday with Xbox. We'll see you guys then.